And typically the big brands, like superheroes, they've got great public favor. They've got big muscles, which in marketing equates to big budgets. And for someone new entering the market that's under-resourced, going head-to-head and doing what they do, it's a recipe for disaster. So you specifically need to do everything they're not doing. Find your niche, find your hole, find your strategy where you could start chipping away at their market share. And before they know it, now you're the big guy and they're the underdog. So a lot of underdog mentality in the book. So if you feel like at all you're an underdog, you're trying to chip away, or you felt like you had a leadership position and someone came and stole it from you, you want to get it back, this book might be for you.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level. Join Josh Hadley, an 8-figure ecom business owner and investor, as he interviews highly successful business owners. Get ready, because you're going to learn specific actions you can take today to help your business reach its full potential and leave a lasting impact on the world.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth, and Matt Clark from ASM. Today, I'm speaking with Jesse James Roblewski, and we are going to be talking about the 12 ways that big brands have successfully differentiated themselves and where you as a brand owner should start differentiating yourself to fight the onslaught of overseas competition that is super prevalent right now. This episode is brought to you by Ecom Breakthrough, where I specialize in investing in and scaling 7-figure companies to 8 figures and beyond. If you're an ambitious e-commerce entrepreneur looking for a partner who can help take your business to the next level, my team and I bring hands-on experience, strategic insights, and the resources needed to fuel your growth. So if you or someone you know is ready to scale or looking for an investment partner, reach out to me directly at josh@ecombreakthrough.com. That's ecom with 2 M's, and let's turn your dreams into reality. But today I am super excited to introduce you all to Jesse James Roblewski. He has been at the helm of a New York marketing agency for close to 3 decades. His often offbeat work has been featured in The Rolling Stones, the book 505 Weirdest Websites Ever, and Fangoria, as well as a plethora of other media outlets. He is ready to share his new vision for the world. He recently released a new book called Marketing for Supervillains: Diabolical Tips on Differentiation and Decommoditization and World Domination. So with that introduction, welcome to the show, Jesse.
Thank you for having me, Josh. Looking forward to helping your listeners. If you're facing that onslaught of overseas competition, knockoffs, and you're trying to lead the life of a superhero and you realize it's just not working, maybe time to switch gears and turn into a marketing supervillain and take back what you've rightfully earned.
Jesse, like you're speaking, you're preaching to the choir right now. I think that over the last, 12 months, I think that the increased amount of competition on Amazon has only become more aggressive. We're also seeing, not every brand has year over year growth. And I think a lot of people are losing a lot of margin. There's a big margin squeeze going on. Another guest called it the purge of Amazon, right? Things are becoming a lot more complicated. Yep. Prices are being driven down to basement level prices. And so now brands really have to lean into being a true brand and not just, selling some commodity product. But they also need to be able to compete and build something that will help them survive and reinvent themselves for the future. So I am super excited to have you on because you're you have that experience working with a lot of brands, how to differentiate themselves and create a moat around their business that, makes it harder for overseas competition to knock them off. So Jesse, with that in mind, you're talking to 7-figure entrepreneurs that are looking to scale their brand. I want to dive straight into the heart of this. We led with 12 different ways that they could differentiate themselves. Where do you want to start and to help these entrepreneurs out?
Sure. So to further hook anybody listening, I work mainly with entrepreneurs. Usually a new brand or a startup is not right for me. You still have those rose-colored glasses, and the future looks amazing. I really specialize in working with those brand owners that are almost demoralized, right? So they used to have this incredible pride in their product, their service that they offer, and like you said, due to overseas competition, they're forced to cut their costs, their prices, and that pride is slowly eroding away, and it's just a race to the bottom. I work to not only reestablish that pride they once had in their brand and their product, but also actually enable them to charge a premium where others are racing to the bottom to go to that cheapest price. So that's what I really love digging my teeth into. But yeah, I mean, I'll kind of go into the first tip that's like staring me right in the face. It really has nothing to do with my book. It's just my part of my ethos as a designer. There was a study done, and we'll see if anybody resonates with this, where they gave two groups of people a recipe to make cookies. And the only difference in that recipe card was they changed the font to something a little less professional, like a Comic Sans. And they found the people with the original font followed that recipe to a T. They took tremendous pride in the instructions, and they made the cookies exactly. The second group, because the font was a little unprofessional, it kind of loosened their overall perception of the project, and they didn't follow the instructions exactly, right? So having that professionalism, and I know because I've ordered products from Amazon, you get the instruction cards and it's broken English, and there's so much to be said about presenting your brand in a professional way, sparing no expense, professional logo, professional copywriting, that, again, not anywhere in my book, but I find that fascinating that people will automatically create the value in their head just based on the presentation and the professionalism of the product and the presentation of it.
That's a brilliant case study there, and I think a fascinating study that was done. I tend to agree with that as well. So you've piqued my interest, Jesse. I'm super excited to hear how you've worked with other brands to help them reinvigorate and reignite that passion that they had about their products when there was lesser competition, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So I focus on differentiation. I call it decommoditization, right? So if you're a commodity, no one can really tell the special, unique, special sauce anymore. They can't tell the difference between one product and another. So you become commoditized. We specialize in decommoditizing products. And on my website, in my book, I go into great detail as a free download of something we call the universe of differentiation. And it's important to know that differentiation is very different than your USP, your unique sales proposition, right? They interchanged often, but it's often incorrectly done. I say the difference between a USP and a differentiator is like a mic drop, right? If you successfully and meaningfully differentiate yourself, that's your mic drop. No one can copy you. If your USP is, we have the best products, the best customer service, the highest quality, a competitor to come in and say that, yeah, we do that too. We use the same ingredients, the same products, the same parts, etc. That mic drop moment is when you say, we do this and nobody else can touch us, right? So going briefly through the universe of differentiation, and I'm going to pull up my little cheat sheet here because it's hard to remember all 12, but I'll run through all 12 really quick. And then Josh, I'll let you kind of pick what piques your interest just from gut instinct. So number 1, differentiate via definitives, cause alignment, process, timing, lifestyle, niching down, approachable distinction, byproduct, heritage, reposition the category, exclusivity and scarcity, and differentiating via identity. So those are 12 ways that brands throughout history, both large and small, have successfully differentiated themselves. And when people hear the word differentiate, they often think, different can mean weird or odd, and that's not the case. Within this universe of differentiation, you have brands like Tiffany, like Steinway pianos, brands that you would probably not associate with differentiation, but they're successfully differentiated and they charge a premium in their industry. So we can go into any one of these that you may like, with the mindset that, you don't have to wear crazy question mark suit and, be the craziest guy in the room to successfully differentiate yourself.
Yeah. Jesse, I love this. And I think it would best serve the audience if we almost deep dive. We won't be able to do a deep dive into every single one of the 12, but maybe do like a briefer overview for each of the 12. Maybe can we give like a couple like brief ideas of, hey, when I talk about process differentiation, here's some brief examples, because I think the listeners are going to be able to pick apart like, this makes sense for my brand.
Absolutely.
So let's go through and maybe approach it that way. Give me a couple examples, maybe a couple brands that highlight, here's some brands that use process differentiation or identity differentiation, et cetera.
Sure. So I'll start with process because it's one of my favorite stories. And then I'd like to go into your brand and maybe throw some workshop ideas for you and your wife, who's the artist. And we'll see if we can land on a differentiator for you as well.
Love it.
So process is basically how you do or how you end up with what you are selling, whether it be a product or service. If your process is unique, you should definitely bring it to the forefront. So my favorite example is there is a distilling company here in New York called Sweet Amber Distilling, and they wanted to differentiate their product. They had a whiskey, and the first thought was, hey, let's get a celebrity to endorse the whiskey, but that's like a USP. Anybody could do it, and you're back in the rat race. So what they did was they approached the band Metallica, and Metallica was of the same mindset. Yeah, we'd like to endorse a whiskey, but we just want to slap our name on the bottle. We want to go deeper. So they actually came up with a pretty cool process where Metallica created a playlist, right? So you have white noise. Metallica created something called black noise. And again, I don't know if this works, but it's a great story. The story is their process is they have the whiskey aging in the barrels, and it's constantly barraged with this black noise from Metallica, and the vibration vibrates the wood in the barrels, and you get that extra wooden flavor as it ages, right? So overall, phenomenal story. It's a process of how they do their thing, and they have a celebrity endorsement. So creating that really quick story, it's called Blackened Whiskey after one of Metallica's songs. It's a story, next time you pull up to the bar, and if you're a Metallica fan or someone's wearing a Metallica shirt, you have to tell the story, right? So that's a real quick, here's our process that nobody else has in an incredibly crowded space, right? The alcohol beverage space. There's 17,000 new SKUs entering the market every single year. But they were able to create this unique process, create a story around it, and they're off to the races, hugely successful.
Man, all right, Jesse, I love this. All right, I think we need to go through all 12 and give me just a brief example just like that for each of those, because it's already got my wheels turning here. So let's start at the very beginning, and if you could give me like a great brand example, just like you shared with process, I think this will help us like double down on what it is that you're preaching to us today.
Sure. So next up, we'll pull another story that I really like, heritage, right? So everyone likes to lean on heritage. If you have heritage that no one else can copy, you should definitely lean on it as a differentiator. Perfect example, vodka, right? So for a while, everyone was saying our vodka is, it's the best out there. They made it look Russian. They made it sound Russian because the best vodkas come from Russia. Stoli, which is a Russian vodka, said a lot of vodkas look Russian. Stoli is Russian, right? So they leaned on their heritage. And my favorite story is everyone knows Ginsu knives, right? They slice, they dice, they chop tomatoes and shoes. So when the creators of the Ginsu knife realized that Japanese knives have this cachet of high quality heritage tradition, their knives are made in Minnesota, but they decided to name the knife Ginsu to give that impression of heritage. So they didn't have heritage, but they kind of hinted at it. So when you hear Ginsu, you think Japanese, you think quality. So that's kind of a way they, I don't want to say illegally, but they use the differentiator to their advantage in creating their overall brand.
Beautiful example. Love that. All right, keep it going, Jesse.
All
You're
right,
on a roll.
Let me get my cheat sheet up here again. What else do we have? All right. So, do we do a video version of this podcast or just audio?
Yeah, yep, it's video. So you're welcome to share your screen too. This will be published on YouTube. So to our listeners, when Jesse shares something or he's got a really fun background. So if anybody's watching this too, his background is 10 times better than mine. You've got a great background. So check it out on YouTube, Ecom Breakthrough.
Yeah, so I was going to allude to my background. So I am a big collector. One of those collections are action figures, right? So years and years ago, before the term action figure existed, Hasbro bought the rights to a comic strip that really celebrated the American soldier, right? So they started making figures of these soldiers, but then they came into a problem. They realized that traditional American dads wouldn't want their male sons playing with dolls, right? That was the nomenclature back there. You had a figure that was in the form of a toy. It was called a doll. So they had this issue. So they actually coined the term, and this is called repositioning the category. They coined the term action figure, and they went to market with G.I. Joes. So G.I. Joe was responsible for creating the term and the whole industry of action figures. So even though they're creating a doll, right, they came up with a completely new way to present it to the market. So if you feel like your product, your service is just head and shoulders completely different or aimed at a completely different audience, you could successfully differentiate and pretty much own the market by quote unquote repositioning the category like G.I. Joe.
I love that. So is it almost focused on like you're almost serving like a niche audience when you're doing that?
It could be, or you can just take, an unappreciated portion of your business or your service and really exponentialize it, lean into it and say, back in the day there were computers and then there was Intel inside. What does that mean, right? So was it a computer or an Intel computer? So there's different ways that'll resonate with different people of your audience. So that's something a little more technical, a little more deeper, but a super interesting story.
Yeah, love that. All right, Jesse, keep it going.
All right, so we did heritage, we did repositioning the story, the category, exclusivity and scarcity, right? So I tell a story in my book about how I came very close to building a website for the mafia. I did not know at the time, but long story short, I had a client that sold hair products, shampoos, conditioners, etc. And I walk into this meeting and there's these two gruff guys and they're talking about how they can get these high-end hair products, and they have a special laser that can remove these serial numbers that are actually inside the bottle without opening the bottle. So I went a little deeper, and I realized that these high-end hair product companies actually track each of their products through a serial number printed on inside the bottle, and they only give these specific products to high-end hair salons. And if that particular product ended up in a Walmart or on eBay, they would be able to reverse engineer and figure out who they gave that product to and say, we want this only sold in your salon. Seeing our brand on the shelves of Walmart actually damages our brand and it makes us have to reduce our pricing. So they came up with a way to kind of circumvent that. So in a way, creating that exclusivity, that scarcity, that you can only get these products in a high-end salon, it may be the same crap that's in the bottle at Walmart, but that perception, seeing it on that shelf in your salon, the top shelf, actually enables you to charge a premium. So creating almost, I want to say, an artificial scarcity or an artificial exclusivity could be another way to successfully differentiate your brand.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. How would you say you could do that if you have a brand that's on Amazon, right? And I've actually got an idea in the back of my mind, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts here.
So tapping back into my wide collection, it's very, very popular. And I don't know if this is possible on Amazon, but a lot of independent artists, a lot of even bigger companies like Hot Wheels, they'll do like a random drop or a specified time and drop and say, we're dropping this car, we're dropping this poster, this piece of art, Tuesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Here's the link. Get it while you can. And there's a limited number available. And that creates a frenzy. I mean, Nike does it, right? You see people on social media, they post a little graphic. I got mine, right? So you create this buying frenzy by creating this scarcity. And I don't know if the Amazon model accommodates for that, really short sales, really high frequency, high volume sales in a short amount of time. But that's what I've become accustomed to in my world. If someone's coming out with something cool, I gotta be at my computer hitting the refresh button every 2 seconds, and trying to battle everyone to the shopping cart, the checkout process. So that's what I've become accustomed to in the scarcity model. But yeah, I mean, what's your idea?
Yeah, I like that. So it's basically piggybacking off of that same idea. We've talked about a lot of people wanting to get more sales off of Amazon. And so my encouragement would be, you could come out with a exclusive designed product, or it might just be like a different color that's not available on Amazon, right? And so I think that exclusivity, it's like, guys, this is our, partner, I like the Metallica. You could partner multiple of these differentiating factors. It's like the Metallica version of our, wine bottle opener is only available. We only have 1,000 units, and it's first come, first serve, and we're dropping it on this date, because then it creates that flywheel, and you're generating. I think the way that I would encourage people to see Amazon is like, that's where people learn about your brand first, and they get introduced to your brand. And then it's your responsibility to be able to educate them and get them to fall in love with your brand through off Amazon remarketing, through meta ads, through TikTok ads, to get people to come to your website where you're going to have the most profitable sales, where you can differentiate yourself with these product drops. I see this happen a lot with a lot of other brands in our space specifically, that have raving Facebook groups that just love the designs of their products. And when they drop something, it will sell out really quickly. And so a really good example of this. So Caden Lane is a really good one that does kind of like these limited time drops. It'll come back to me, but it's a pajama brand. And they do partnerships with specific licenses. So they'll go get like a Disney license, and they'll drop like a Bluey or a Mickey Mouse like version of their pajamas, and they sell out. And they're not even offering this on Amazon, but they do have other SKUs available on Amazon. And so you've got a couple different options. So anyways, Jesse, anything else that you would add to those thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you're speaking, I'm thinking maybe it's kind of a backhanded technique, but maybe the exclusivity and scarcity is the anti-Amazon, right? So you have your product with your variations, and then that one variation, like you said, unavailable on Amazon, and they need to go out and find where it's available. And that gives you the opportunity to grow your brand and that connection even further.
Yeah, love it. All right, Jesse, let's move into another differentiating factor.
All right. Next one's an easy one. Identity, right? Differentiate yourself through identity. So you can have 1,000 bubble baths, and then you have Mr. Bubble, right? So giving your brand an actual identity. You can have vegetables, and you can have Green Giant, right? So giving your brand an identity gives them the opportunity to connect. Even though it's a made-up character, it gives them the ability to connect with that identity. So I know, Mr. Bubble is more appealing to me. I don't buy bubble bath, but it's iconic at this point. It's appealing, and judging by my background, I love a character, right? So that would cause me to actually pay a little bit of a premium for a bubble bath compared to some no-name brand that who knows where it came from.
How would you recommend, somebody start with that? What if you're coming to the market, brand new brand? I know that's not necessarily where you specialize, but Mr. Bubbles is definitely more iconic, right? And you think of like the brawny man, We've all seen these TV ads over and over and over again for decades. That makes it like more appealing, obviously. So how do you recommend if you're like, I'm reinventing and I'm creating an identity that nobody's ever really seen before? Any thoughts or ideas there?
Yeah, so we have the perfect exercise, and this should be done by everyone, not just someone looking for an identity. So what we do is we give homework to our clients. We give them about a week to think about it, and they come back and they're usually wrong, but it's usually a good jumping off point. So we say, if you could have a spokesperson, a dream spokesperson, do not consider money as an option. So don't pick The Rock because he has 1 million followers. The dream spokesperson that would speak, not only have access to your audience, but speak their language, know exactly what they need, vibe with them, right? So start with your dream, alive, dead, from a book, from a TV show, doesn't matter. But who is that dream voice for your product? And then from there, there's other steps how we go down, and we use adjectives to describe that person down the list. And then as you get further down the list, you have this kind of unique identity that it should sound like, it should look like, it should speak to the pains. And if you're not even considering identity, all of your social media, all of your email, all of your outbound messaging should run through this test of, does it sound authentic coming out of that person's mouth? Right. So if you're, a green, eco-friendly brand, and you choose, a stereotypical, like, brawny, lumberjack, right? Probably not going to match, not going to sound authentic coming out of his mouth. So I think that's a great exercise, a thought experiment to anyone considering building a brand and then exponentializing it on social media, TV, etc. That voice should be consistent throughout all your messaging. And it's hard to find that voice.
Yeah. Great tip. All right, Jesse, let's keep going.
All right. Putting me through the ringer here. Let's see. What's another one? Approachable distinction. So this is my favorite. And this is where you typically can have fun, be comedic, wear the crazy clothes. But we find with specific industries, the SaaS industry, high-end cars, let's use the SaaS industry, right? So people usually only use 10% of a piece of software that they pay for, right? The other 90% is just too much to comprehend. So we find that when people are searching or shopping for these particular products, they are intimidated. They don't know what questions to ask because rightfully so, it's complicated, right? So if you're constantly out there saying benefits and features and benefits, here's why you should use us, it's very complicated. Or even using the iPod, right? Before iPods came around, it was, I need an MP3 player. How much storage does it have? What's the megahertz? What does the sound like? Well, like all these technical things. And Apple knew that. And they just said, all right, we're going to wrap it in plastic. We're going to give it a shiny color. And this is your MP3 player. You don't need to know anything technical. We made it approachable, right? So SaaS companies that are feature benefit, cost savings, they need to consider, hey, how do I make this more approachable than the CPA website that's all numbers, all, technical. Look, I'm intimidated. I want to work with someone that's fun, someone I can talk to, someone that understands me. So I think approachable distinction is probably the biggest differentiator that most brands out there can grab onto, because, in the marketing industry, most of my clients don't understand marketing. So how are they going to choose? They're probably going to choose the lowest price. But if you give it something that's a little bit more approachable, we talk about, we get the best CPMs, we get the best CPAs, the best keywords, SEO results through the roof. That's too intimidating, man. I don't want to enter that conversation because I'll feel stupid. Make it more approachable. Yeah. Approachable distinction. Differentiate yourself with approachability.
Love that. Okay, Jesse. So next question here is, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Sure.
How, out of these 12 that you've listed, what would you say are like the top 2 or 3 that you think would like highly resonate with like an e-commerce brand that is selling on Shopify or on Amazon, that you think, or that you've seen with your clients, like, guys, these are the, if I were to only choose 2 or 3 levers to pull to create a moat around my brand through marketing, these would be the ways I would do it. Any leads or insights there?
Sure. I mean, every single brand is different which is why we created the universal differentiation. But using your Hadley Designs as an example, I never met your wife. You told me what she does, and she's an artist. So it immediately, as a fellow artist, I wanted to hear her process. I wanted to hear her heritage, how she comes to the designs, why she's an artist, what these designs mean to her. I've never seen her products, but I think that could, completely separate. Is she a mom running a business? How does being a mom affect her designs? Things like that people can automatically, grab onto. So I think that story for you, heritage, maybe niching down, if she's creating a lifestyle brand, in the future. I know we're starting with stationery, but could this be leveraged into an entire lifestyle brand? But I immediately, maybe because I'm an artist, I wanted to know more about why this stationery? Why should I pick this design versus a cheap knockoff? Does it have, I'm choosing stationery. It's a special item. It's not just, a commodity. It has a design on it that means something. I'm going to buy it because it resonated with me. It means something. Let's go deeper. Why does it resonate with me? Who made it? Why did they make it? Et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's opportunity there, especially for the smaller brands, right? Small business owners, everyone's, shop small, yada, yada, yada. They have that sentiment. Tell me why. Why should I shop small with you as opposed to a bigger, more established manufacturer?
So let's go down that rabbit hole and use our brand as a case study then. So why don't you ask me the questions you would ask a client, and I'll kind of give you more details. My wife has just been she has loved art since the day she was born. She was one of those kids that was just naturally gifted at art, and she would win greeting card contests. She would always, she entered various contests through the community, or even like one of her greeting cards she submitted for like a big brand or something back in the day, like actually got published and went, national, like when I can't remember what age she was, but she was young. And so like she has always excelled there. Her story is that she went to college and everybody's like, oh, you don't want to major in art. Like, what a waste of time. There's no money in art. Why don't you go and be a doctor? Right. So she's like, went down the doctor path for a hot minute. And then she's like, yeah, no, that's not it. Then she went down like the business route for a minute. And then she's like, I don't know that that's it. Then she ended up doing her degree in early childhood education. But as soon as we graduated college together, she was like, hey, you've got a full-time job. Do you mind if I just explore this graphic design stuff? Because I've always loved it, but I've never learned it. It's like, sure, go do your thing. That then, she then started doing like wedding invitations for some of her friends and designed those wedding invitations. Then those friends were like, you're amazing at what you do. I'm referring you to this friend that's getting married, right? So we started this wedding invitation business. Then that transitioned to, hey, we got to stop doing custom one-off jobs with people. Like, is there a way that we could like mass produce something? And so that's when we started getting into, stationery, all the way from calendars to party invitations. And what we've learned over time is the one thing that customers, if you look at all of our reviews, the one thing that people will say over and over and over again is, this is super cute. This is super adorable. I've never seen anything this cute. Any of like our influencers that are posting about our products, they're like, guys, you got to take a look at everything she has to offer because everything is just adorable, right? She is a mom, fourth child, so 4 children, and she does it all, right? Running a business, designing, raising a family. So there's kind of the details from my side. Now I'm interested to hear you kind of pick things apart, and how would you piece these together?
Yeah. So obviously, this is very, very top of mind, very off the cuff. We probably go a little bit deeper, but everything you told me, I probably half a dozen differentiators that I could lean into, things that I could really sink my teeth into. But one of the things that a lot of people forego when they're differentiating themselves is they don't go all in, right? So one of the differentiators we didn't get to is cause alignment, right? it's the flavor of the month now. Every big brand aligns themselves with a charity, and are they differentiated if they give 5% to the Save the Whales? Absolutely not. What makes a brand truly differentiated by aligning with a cause is that they lean into it completely. It becomes their DNA. Tom's shoes. You buy a pair of Tom's shoes, they donate a pair to someone underprivileged. Ben and Jerry's, right? That's synonymous with cause alignment, right? You buy their ice cream, and you're buying into a cause. So something that I would recommend, and I'm going to give you a couple examples, is you don't want to flirt with the idea. You want to make it part of your brand. So something I love, I have a mental picture of your demographic. It may not be correct based on the data I have. I'm making assumptions, but the people that would buy extremely adorable, as you say, stationery, there may be a flip side, right? So everyone loves a trailblazer. Everybody feels like they're, I think a lot of people have an outsider or a supervillain side to them that they keep hidden, right? So the fact that your wife always had this passion, and people said, go to medical school, don't do art, it's stupid, and I walk the same path. The fact that she decided to, I'm going to go all in on my passion, screw what the other people say, I'm going to be a trailblazer. I think that could lead to an entirely, self-contained lifestyle brand where, you know what? I'm the person that would buy extremely adorable stationery. I don't know a lot of people that buy stationery, but you know what? I'm still a badass. I'm still, so I can have a kitten that's a secret badass, right? So kind of ingrain that supervillain, that trailblazer mentality with the overall cuteness. Just a thought. That's something I would do if this was my company. I'd probably need more information about your demographic. But yeah, heritage. Most people, we've been doing stationery since 1911, right? Maybe something like, heritage. Stationery since 8 years old, something like that. Like,
yeah,
your wife is the artist and she's been doing it forever, and you can kind of leverage that story. And when I'm looking at it done correctly compared to a knockoff, you know what? I resonate with this person. I get it. They did something against the grain. They've been doing it forever. Mother running a business, whatever resonates with that audience, I think you can lean into, and kind of bring it into your brand DNA.
So really focus on, maybe even like meet the artist, right? I'm thinking
Sure.
Like one of our secondary images on Amazon is almost like meet the artist, and here's a little blurb about her background, right? Would that be something you would double down on?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, I'm assuming your wife is very personable, and that picture, speaks 1,000 words. Some people are not. They think they are, and they get on camera, and it's like, no one's ever going to resonate with you. So you leverage your strengths and you hide your weaknesses. So if you think that's something that would resonate, absolutely. I know Amazon has videos as well. So quick 30-second story. I think that could greatly set you aside from the knockoffs.
Love that, man. This has been a lot of fun, Jesse. What else what else have we not touched on that you think our audience needs to hear to help differentiate themselves?
Yeah. So, I came out with a book called Marketing for Supervillains, and everybody asks, what the hell, is it a joke book? Is it a comedy book? But the supervillain marketing mindset really came from, I think what a lot of your listeners are experiencing, came from my 25 years of agency experience, where I needed to start stacking the deck in my favor, right? So I had a client come to me, hey, we sell business phone systems, and we want you to put us on social media. That's going to fix everything, right? No thought as to, the tool, why we're using the tool. So I would immediately go down the path of, okay, why should I follow you on social media? Are you the business phone system for agencies? Are you the approachable phone system? Do you have a celebrity endorsement? I'm not going to put you on social media with the same boring crap, and 6 months later, you're going to get mad at me because your idea didn't work, right? So I was always stacking the deck in my favor. I'm not going to take you on as a client unless we differentiate, we have something to talk about, a reason to have people follow us. So that's kind of where the supervillain mentality came from. a lot of people, when they're entering the market, they look at the big guys and they say, "Ooh, I want to look like them. I want to talk like them." And you know what? I'm going to do everything they do. I'm going to try to out SEO them. I'm going to try and do more social media than them. And typically the big brands, like superheroes, they've got great public favor. They've got big muscles, which in marketing equates to big budgets. And for someone new entering the market that's under-resourced, going head-to-head and doing what they do, it's a recipe for disaster. So you specifically need to do everything they're not doing. Find your niche, find your hole, find your strategy where you could start chipping away at their market share. And before they know it, now you're the big guy and they're the underdog. So a lot of underdog mentality in the book. So if you feel like at all you're an underdog, you're trying to chip away, or you felt like you had a leadership position and someone came and stole it from you, you want to get it back, this book might be for you.
Beautiful. Love this. I think you've piqued many people's interest on this.
I hope so.
So, Jesse, as we wrap up this episode, I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways. Here are 3 that I noted. You let me know if I'm missing something.
Okay.
But number 1, I think you need to actually lean in. If you're not truly creating a brand at this point, you are behind the 8 ball, right? Because if you do not have a brand and you're just coming up with, I'm slapping a private label on top of another commodity product, that's only going to get you so far. And you're going to be constantly in the rat race of, a race to the bottom. And my belief on Amazon over the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be the people that double down on their brand and could actually drive traffic off of Amazon in order to keep that Amazon flywheel going. And so it's not going to be sufficient just relying on Amazon traffic and, the cheapest price that will allow you to win. So that's action item number 1. If you don't have a brand, lean into a brand. Action item number 2 is if you have a brand, but a lot of these that you feel like maybe we haven't done a good enough job being professional with our brand. Because I love the study that you shared at the very beginning, right? With the recipe card. If it's a well-written recipe card, it looks professional, then people are going to treat the whole recipe and cooking process professionally. So if you feel like, you had some guy on Fiverr put together your logo, some guy on Fiverr did your slogan, some guy on Fiverr's doing your A+ brand story content on Amazon, you're going to have a lot of disjointed assets, right? And so the more you can really clean that up, and again, double down on some of the brands that are the most professional, which I'll kind of pause on this note and ask you, Jesse, are there any brands that you would encourage people to really emulate that you feel like has really done a good job piecing their brand together professionally?
That's a good question. So I tend to follow more of the offbeat brands. So I don't have I'm not like a brand loyalist with the big brands, but I mean, there's so many big brands out there that, do the job well. You could look at Tiffany's. So I usually struggle to come up with the big mainstream brand names, but yeah, I mean, look at the big names in your industry, but don't try to act like them. You could try to maybe look like them and sound like them as far as their messaging goes. Make sure everything's professional, but take that strategy and then completely flip the script on them.
Yeah, I think that, so here's 2 that I would recommend that have done a really good job with their branding. So Dr. Squatch is a really good example of kind of, I would say, an offbeaten brand. They're definitely rising though. And then Magic Spoon, another brand that does a really good job with their branding from their D2C site to what you see on their Amazon listings. So I think doubling down on that and creating that cohesive experience, that's action item number 2. And then last but not least, action item number 3 is then being able to double down on 12 of those different differentiating factors that Jesse laid out. So take one of those. We went through identity, exclusivity, your process, approachable distinction, your course alignment, and choose something that's going to set yourself apart that overseas competitors cannot replicate. And when you do that, you'll be able to edge out the competition. You'll actually have people that want to follow your brand, that want to stay loyal to your brand, and will be excited for your products when they come out. So Jesse, did I misspeak? Anything else that you would add here that I didn't?
No, I mean, the universe of differentiation is a big thing to bite off. So if you go to my website, decommoditize.com, you can download a PDF version. Each planet has a number of examples, so it can get you off to the races if you want to do some exercises on your own. So that's a handy little freebie. You can also download the first few chapters of my book, absolutely free. So decommoditized.com.
Excellent. All right, Jesse, love to ask each guest the following 3 questions. So we'll start from the top. Number 1, what's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
Most influential book. I got to choose one. So I would say, and I don't know if this is going to be relevant to your listeners, but there's a phenomenal book called The Win Without Pitching Manifesto. And it's just basically one of my favorite quotes about business, and it could be for e-commerce as well. Business is the polite battle for control. So if you're going to someone and you're saying, hey, Josh, I got this phone. I think you're really going to like it. Would you buy it? Versus me having this amazing phone and you coming to me and saying, Jesse, I heard about this phone. I'd really like to hear more about it. Can I buy it? Those are 2 incredibly huge dynamic shifts in power. 1, I have no power. And number 2, I have all the power in the world because you're coming to me. So the Win Without Pitching Manifesto basically puts you in that mindset and gets you to literally not have to pitch anymore. Create your brand, create your business, create your product in such a way that people come to you. And if they say, hey, I want you to pitch next to this guy. I don't pitch. Here's what I do. You read my book. You saw my product. We stand head and shoulders above the rest. So definitely a good, a strong piece of my foundation of my thinking.
What's the biggest golden nugget in regards to that? How do you make people want to come to you versus you having to pitch people? What would you say to
so that? In that book, they lean on something similar called positioning, right? Your brand position. How does your brand sound? What's your unique selling proposition? What's your specialization, right? So you're not a marketer, or you're not a stationary person. We sell stationery to people that appreciate cute art, but behind the scenes, they're trailblazers, or they appreciate cute, but they walk to their beat of their own drum or whatever. Like figuring out that positioning, and important with positioning and even differentiation. It's a huge a switch in mindset, right? So most people are out there saying, how do I appeal to more people? I need a bigger audience. I need more customers. I want to be more appealing. Successful positioning and differentiation is a reductive process. So it's very difficult to wrap your head around, but you want to start saying, all right, these people aren't for me. These people aren't for me. And just keep reducing your audience until you find that really strong differentiator or brand position that will resonate with a select few.
I think that's really good words of wisdom right there. I think especially for people that come to, that start their business on Amazon, the initial mindset is like, I want to appeal to as many people as I possibly can. And I do think that the niches are actually the riches are in the niches. Yep. Where if you actually speak to a customer, right? I love, again, going back to the example of Dr. Squatch. Who is it that they're targeting? They're not targeting females with their scents right now. It's men that don't want the girly soap, that don't want to smell like a tangerine on their way out the door, right? It's like,
yeah, they just did a Fight Club licensing deal that almost got me to buy it. But yeah, it's aimed at me. They targeted me perfect. They created a product that's perfect. So yeah, they're doing a great job.
Awesome. All right. Question number 2. What's your favorite AI tool that you've been using and why?
So favorite AI tool, I'm actually on a task force for a consulting gig that I have where I use almost every AI tool that comes out as it comes out. And there's a lot of stuff that I use. They're gimmicks and they're fun, right? So I come to a meeting and I bring these tools up and everyone's like, oh, that's hilarious. I want to try it, yada, yada, yada. But the tried and true is Midjourney, right? So I use Midjourney every single day. It's integrated into my workflow, both professionally and, personally. I not only collect toys, but I enjoy making toys that should exist, right? So slightly deranged at times, but occasionally I'll make toys. And in recent case studies, I've had Midjourney create an image of a character. And then I was like, that's so cool. I'll use that for the packaging and I'll sculpt the toy and it's just a one-off thing, a piece of art. But yeah, I'm taking it from the 2D realm very much into the 3D world. It's just been a really fun tool for iteration and ideation. So Midjourney gets the daily thumbs up.
Yes. So I'll ask you this question then on Midjourney. Any specific prompts or tips that you would recommend to actually get what you want out of Midjourney?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one question. People tell me to, put things in quotes, be as descriptive as possible. Just work with it. Have fun with it. There's no real science yet to prompt engineering that I know of. It's kind of like SEO. Everyone has a tip, got to do this, but there's no textbook yet, right? So everyone's just going off the hearsay. So yeah, it's for most people free or very cheap. Go crazy, ideate, refresh, remix, keep doing it.
Awesome. All right. Final question. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people should be following, and why?
So I was thinking about this question since I got your script, and I don't really have if you want to say an identity or a personality in the e-commerce space that I regularly follow. However, I do have a couple of clients that are emerging TikTok shop owners, which is a brand new medium, which I'm fascinated with. So if it wouldn't be hedging my bets, and I could say I admire and I'm watching emerging TikTok shop owners, that would be my answer.
Awesome. Love that. Yep, I agree. TikTok shop, definitely a disruptor.
Yep.
Jesse, this has been a lot of fun. If people want to learn more about you, they want to pick up your book, where's the best place people can follow you and learn more?
So they shouldn't have too much trouble finding the book. It's on Amazon, Marketing for Supervillains. My website is decommoditized.com, and my socials are Marketing Supervillain on all socials.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, thanks again for your time today and joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's a great time.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.